All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We've got Clem vs. Trigger here in the Battle Aces right now. Best of 9 show match. What about Crab is the first line coming out of Trigger there, who's going to be in the top right. Now, there is a bit of a spectating bug today where we're going to mostly be watching from Clem's point of view, but due to the nature of the game not having hidden information, the fact that you can see when your opponents expand, when they tech, we're still going to be able to follow all the action, and that should be fantastic. Now, chat's pointed out Trigger has no anti-air. What the hell is he doing, guys? He has nothing that shoots up at all. What? What? Nothing at all that shoots. This has to be a mistake. You know what's funny? Clem's only air units that shoot down is tier 2 airship, tier 3 cat bus. If he gets to cat bus, obviously he wins. But airship's so bad at shooting down. It's more of an air superiority fighter. If Clem doesn't notice, this proves that these guys are both like top 10, often top 2, top 3 players in the world. It's often a situation where these guys click really fast because they're pro StarCraft players, but are they actually able to think? Now, I know Trigger has played a lot of Clash Royale. Trigger has played a lot of Desert Strike and all these different kind of auto battlers. But look at this. GunBot Wasp is one of the best ways to counter blink openings, I believe. That being said, Clem's micro is solid so far. I think he loses a lot of workers though. Good pullback timing for Trigger, but he loses all those gunbots on the retreat. Kills a lot of workers there. Was that worth it? I'm not sure. So he's basically just trying to hard counter Clem's blink opening, I'm pretty sure. And Clem goes ground! Clem's going Destroyer plus turret to try and deal with Trigger. That's fascinating. Clem's running turret. Now, both these guys are pretty flexible in their openings. They do a lot of different things, so we'll see how it goes. Wasps do get in again and clear the last of those workers. Really good trade. But the blinks are now attacking. Gunbots do fine versus blinks. It's especially with the Wasps coming in as such good stats hogs. And look at that, overclock coming in. This is actually kind of bad for Clem if he can't get out of it. He's going to run away. Meanwhile, the Wasps still trading on the other side. Will they get one more blink? They do. Very nice for Trigger so far. It feels like Trigger's kind of in a really good position. Someone just did a spray tag. He just did a King Crab spray tag on the ground. Dude, I haven't seen that one yet. Dude, I gotta start changing my spray tags around. I didn't know you could do a King Crab spray tag. But yeah, like I said, Clem is probably the best mechanical RTS strategy player in the world. I truly believe he could play any game that has like a speed and mouse accuracy element, and he would be one of the best. Trigger is very, very good as well, but Trigger, like I said, has played a lot of auto battlers. He's played a lot of custom games in StarCraft 2. There's the old story of how I think it was Nina discovered him as like this random player who was like Diamond, barely played 1v1 in SC2, and Trigger would just he was the best in the world at this random custom game. And she kind of encouraged him to play more 1v1, and he's become a top pro gamer now. But yeah, he's played Clash Royale, he's played a lot of other games, he kind of understands auto battlers on a pretty good level. Now, these turrets, really good splash damage for them, but look at that, Trigger just goes around. Trigger's like, that's fine, you can't engage. These shockers will one-shot or two-shot those blinks. Like, and there's so many of them. Oh man, the turret helping out a little bit, the turret helping out. Guys try to come in from behind, remember. Shockers are not big units, so they don't take bonus damage from destroyers. Look at that shocker damage. Look, even this one shocker over here is causing such problems. He does spread out to try and deal with it, but these shockers are a real problem for Clem. That being said, Trigger's isolated himself in the corner, and he's 2 base versus 3 base. He needs to get damage done. That King Crab will get one shot if the destroyers get in range of it. But that's a big if right now. I think the King Crab should just go kill all these workers or this base. Oh, more turrets going down. The turrets everywhere for Clem. Remember, turrets have amazing stats for their cost, but they can't move. You know, there's only an anti-air and an anti-ground turret. It's the anti-ground turret, and it does do splash damage. But look at that. The Shocker's finally going to be getting taken out. At the same time, he runs in the front of the King Crabs, and they actually get beaten by the turrets. Now, I thought turrets, as a splash damage unit, would do less damage against big units like the King Crab. But those 4 turrets wrecked those 2 King Crabs. And that tells me, right now, in this very early version of the game, we don't have the unit stats available. We have no idea what the unit stats are. So I actually think the turrets might not have reduced damage versus big like most other splash damage units do. And that's weird, because that kind of, to me, breaks the rules of the game. A little bit, where maybe it shouldn't be classified as a splash unit, but this is part of the thing where the devs have I think they've heard the feedback, because I've talked to them. I've said, stats, give me unit stats, please, and I'm like screaming at them, because we used to rely on just nerds to scrape the data from the game, but that's harder to do in the current version. So because of that being missing, It's been really hard to figure things out. Now, I know they've said, okay, we're thinking of putting an entire detailed units panel in for every single unit in the next version, but unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a little while for that. And right now, we're just kind of guessing things. So it's going to be interesting with all those different modifiers, like how it all works is a bit opaque would be the best way to describe it. Now, Trigger's going to go air here. He's going to go for Butterfly Mammoth. Meanwhile, Clem has snipers, which are they're a splash damage unit now. He's playing very turtley as Clem, and I think that's the right way to play. He's got to get out of here. He's got to get out. He's trying to protect his destroyers. One of the destroyers got jumped on, but only one. And those shockers will wreck the blinks if they get in range, but now the snipers are here, and how the hell do you deal with these snipers, man? Those snipers, super long range, splash damage units, and they're just going to shoot, pull back whenever you run at them. And GunBots are very, very vulnerable. He's trying to jump on top. GunBots cannot jump on top of this, though. Oh, this is not looking good for Trigger. Up there, Blink guys in the top. Got to be careful. They do take a few shocker shots. I guess he comes out with a big wave of butterflies, right? There's nothing here that shoots up. Clem needs to get back. He needs anti-air. Clem should be massing anti-air. You know there's going to be a big butterfly wave, surely, right? Surely that's what Trigger's waiting for. Nothing that shoots up has got to be a mistake. Where's his anti-air? Butterflies are not being used, though. It seems like Trigger's just trying to break this with King Crabs right now. The destroyers evaporate the King Crabs. Snipers evaporate the GunBots. Mammoths come in, but they're also getting cleared by the destroyers. So I don't think Mammoths or King Crabs are the answer. Trigger is just, doubling down on big units and hoping to focus the destroyers down quickly enough with everything else. It's not working because the snipers just do too much damage against the wasps. Every time they shoot, against the GunBots, I should say. Every time they shoot the small units, the GunBots and the wasps just evaporate. And Trigger kind of running into a brick wall of Clem right here. Clem with the turret defense actually showing the heavy turret is legit. That turret absolutely kept Clem alive in that game. That was massive. All right, guys. Going game 2. And Clem is in the other unit slot. I'm an idiot, guys. Sorry, I swapped the unit slots here. But that's okay. We're going to watch from Trigger's point of view to get a bit of variety. Trigger's going Blink this time. Clem is playing Wasp, Hornet, Swift Shocker. So if Trigger expands, which he has... Oh, they both fast expanded very quickly. That's interesting. I feel like... Wouldn't Blink get overrun by a Wasp Shocker all in? I guess Blink's so good at pulling behind workers and microing back. Maybe Blink's just the best at defending one base all-ins, and that's why it's so popular. A few high-level players in chat, so I'd love you guys to give me the words on that. Maybe Blink is just the best at, defending all-ins. I didn't think that would be the case because their stats aren't that amazing. But I guess with the ability to micro backwards, you might just get insane value on the defense. Now, Trigger's got Destroyer... Wait, does Trigger... Yeah, Trigger's got Blink Hunter and he's got Valk in the late game available as well. As a silver player, I prefer Knights because I cannot micro. Great advice from Twitch chat. Thank you, Cybermax. To be fair, the Knight's kind of satisfied because it is so easy to use, right? I know Blink crushes a lot of Stinger all-ins. I'm not so sure about Swift Shocker all-ins, says Bowen. That's interesting, yeah. Because Swift Shocker is also a very fast unit with the Wasps could swarm. Both guys are going to rush third base right now, and Blinks are in position to block the kind of surround on the top workers. But Clem dives anyway. Clem's just like, YOLO, bro. Let's see what workers I can kill. I think this should be a good defense, but the real threat is if you lose the middle base. Luckily for Trigger, bases can tank a lot, and Wasps do literally no damage. He could take it, but he'll have to lose a billion Wasps if he wants to commit. He's going to commit. Yeah, I mean, this is the right choice to blink in here and tank damage. You do not want to lose that base. Worth sacrificing a few blinks to keep that alive. And he's just like, dude, I've got more than you. You shouldn't be fighting. And Clem's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to back away right now. Now, Trigger has teched later, guys. Clem actually went Mammoth Dragonfly. And Trigger says, that's fine. I can counter that with Destroyer counters Mammoth. And I've got Blink Hunters, which beat Dragonflies. Now, we saw in an earlier game I was casting, Dragonflies kind of forced a massive overreaction sometimes. But the thing is, I don't think you actually want to build many Dragonflies. I think you want to build 4 Dragonflies is actually the perfect number in my opinion. We'll see how Clem thinks about it. He might just go Mammoths, but I don't think with Destroyers out, that's a great idea. Blinks commit pretty hard here. Was this an overcommitment for Trigger? Oh, and he goes for a Wasp dive and gets the third base snipe. Trigger's going to be tilted, guys. Beautiful move there for Clem. In the midst of defending, splits off like 10-15 Wasps, gets the base snipe. That's going to be huge. And Clem's going tier 3. Clem's going tier 3, guys. Clem is teching to the cat bus. Oh, no. This is a big mistake for Trigger. I was like, yeah, Trigger doesn't need anything to deal with Dragonflies. But that's not the threat. It's the cat bus. He's going to bypass Dragonflies and go for cat bus. Cat bus, the only answer is Valkyrie. and Trigger doesn't even have a Starforge. He needs to get advanced Starforge to get the Valkyrie. He needs to win before those cat busts get on the field. He's only got 30 seconds, and he's in trouble. Wasps are hitting his worker line. He's trying to push forward with Destroyer Blink. He needs massive damage right here, right now, guys. Cat bust is going to ruin him. Oh, Mammoth's coming in as well on the counterattack. That base gets wrecked. Destroyers, though, doing good damage. He's doing great damage, but only 15 seconds till the cat bust is available, guys. You can see this middle base as well. Mortars are just chilling there. These units aren't all attacking there. The mortars aren't sieged up, and a lot of the units are just sitting out of range. Remember, the units have pretty low aggro range in this game as well. And there we go. That natural goes down. Okay, so we're going to go back one base to one base, but the difference is Clem has cat bus, and you only have basic units that shoot up, which is obviously very rough. The cat buses come out, guys. The cat bus is massively tanky. 11,000 hit points, I believe, is what it used to have. I'm not sure if it's got even more now. It does not shoot up, but there is nothing flying that shoots up either for Trigger to take advantage. Clem, he recognized, he was like, wait, I'm going Starforge. You're going to take Foundry? You don't have any anti-air units available. You're relying way too much on the Blink Hunter. And I think that was a big mistake for Trigger with his lack of anti-air. Trigger had to play air there. And even though you might think, well, he doesn't have anything here, but it gives him the option to go Valkyrie. So if he goes Cat Bus, you go Valkyrie. And you use Butterflies in the medium in the interim to deal with the Mammoths. Is it the best way of dealing with Mammoths? No, not at all. But it's, I mean, maybe just build your own Mammoths. He's got Destroyers as well. I mean, yeah, no, if he's going air, I mean, you can just go Mammoth Blink versus Mammoth Wasp. I think should be fine. I think he was fine. Yeah, if he had to go Starforge. So obviously you guys can hear me. I'm kind of like figuring things out in real time. I think Trigger going Foundry there lost him that game. All right, guys. So Print F in chat said he could have opened Foundry. He just needed to reactively go Starforge as soon as he could. Says you can afford to be a minute late against Cat Bus with your Valkyrie. But in fact, this time, guys, we're back into the original player slots. Clem's in the bottom left, by the way. Trigger's in the bottom right. And actually, Trigger swapped to Cat Bus as well. Trigger's like, I can go Cat Bus too. So Clem's using Dragonfly. Remember, we've talked about Dragonflies being the Mutalisk of the game. Very versatile. I think they're actually amazing. But because they won't help you much in a front-on fight, and they're more versatile, you need to use amazing mechanics to just hit multiple areas, avoid ever fighting front-on, and force a big over-response. So you need to be okay. If you go for Starforge here as Clem, you need to basically be okay with your other units defending on their own. Now notice Clem's playing Wasp Hornet, Trigger's playing Blink here, similar to that last game, and both have snipers and destroyers available, but Clem has Swift Shocker, whereas we've got the Mortar for Trigger. So Trigger's got a more turtley static style, Clem's is more mobile, and that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Wasps are going to dive. I mean, he gets us around, but if he doesn't actually kill all these workers, it's not worth, but he kills them. No, it's fine. I think that's worth for the Wasps. And I think you're going to regret that as Trigger. He should have left some units. And this is why you hold position units on the edge to stop them getting the surrounds. If Wasps can't fully surround those workers, they don't kill many. And that's the thing, is the Wasp damage is not that great. Even though their stats overall are amazing for their cost. As melee units, you limit the melee unit surface area, and it doesn't do that well. Now, they're both teching air, guys. Trigger did tech first in the top right. He's going Mammoth and Butterfly. And we're going to see how that goes. Because Clem reactively went air as well. And I think he's basically saying, hey, if I go Dragonflies, I can force you to build a ton of anti-air. And he's got that tech up. He's not going to make Dragonflies just yet. I'm waiting for him to build Dragonflies, guys. I truly feel No, he's going to go Mammoths. Okay, go straight Mammoth. It's Mammoth versus Mammoth, but there's a few Butterflies. Butterflies will wreck the Mammoths. So he's going to need some anti-air. He's not really building it yet. He's going to go for a Wasp counterattack while he falls back. Hornets are so good, though. Hornets are so fast, they can get underneath very quickly. Wasps circling, refusing to stand and fight. Still hasn't built any Hornets yet. Dude, he's holding off on the Hornets so long. Maybe he hasn't seen the Butterfly. He might not have noticed the Butterflies. I think he should just have like 10 Hornets in his army, because otherwise those Butterflies could wreck a few Mammoths before you get your counter out in time. Clem's setting up a giant arc. Look at this pre-spread, guys. Look at this pre-spread. Those two Butterflies could be a real problem for him. Oh, he's going to go for a huge surround. Clem, says Trigger, my boy. Welcome to D-Town. But Trigger blinks out of it. His Butterflies are doing that amazing damage versus the tanky boys. And then they all just, yep, here comes the Hornets, though. Hornets. Will the Butterflies pull back? Really nice micro. Dude, that was a beautiful surround, but the Butterflies were absolutely smashing, man. The lack of Hornets was a huge mistake. It feels like Clem just didn't quite realize the Butterflies were in there. And those two Butterflies just changed the course of this game. I've been hating on the butterfly, guys. I've been saying it's garbage. Trigger showing the butterfly is good. And this is exactly what I was discussing with Bo and Arn this morning. I was saying, butterfly poo-poo unit. And he was saying, no. If you micro them well, just having a few of them can blast big units so well in the frontal fights, and their raw DPS is much better than a dragonfly. Fascinating to see. Still think it's weird that Clem didn't open with at least a few dragonflies to force a ton of blink hunters out. Like, I think if he just had 2 dragonflies doing run-bys, Clem could have really utilized his mechanics and got a good spot. But I love to see Trigger take him out there. Really nice usage of the butterflies mixed in. Oh, big change up, guys. We're going to game 3. Clem has gone recall, and he's gone recall shockers as well. So he's going for a very heavy recall loadout. Still got Cat Bus, Butterfly, Mammoth on the Starforge. And on the Foundry, he's got the Recall Shocker, the Destroyer, and the Sniper. Now, he's going to be playing against Trigger, who's still playing Blinks. I think this is the exact same deck for Trigger. Yes, it is. Trigger's saying, this is my main bait. Let's see how you deal with it. Now, Blink versus Recall, I think they have the same range, but Recalls just have better stats, right? So the Recall is like, you could just say head-to-head, Recall's always going to beat Blink, right? Because they're just better stats, same. They're both ranged units, and one of them does more damage. Difference... Well, number one, you can teleport. Number one, you've got way more movement speed. So the Trigger has more mobility. He has more choice about how to pick these fights and stuff. And Mortars destroys Recall. Like, Recalls don't really have any recourse against the Mortar. Yeah, that's right. Recall and recourse. I have a big brain, guys. I know. I'm a real smart guy with my words. We are going to see Trigger go Foundry, Destroyer, and Mortar up against a 3-base Recall. Recall players do like to expand pretty fast. You can see the Blink guy is getting very fancy, and he's actually getting a lot of kills, but he did stay a little bit too long there waiting for Blink to come off cooldown. Ends up being, I'd say, similar trading, all things considered. I think he maybe got 3 for 2, but he's almost lost his 3rd one anyway. So this is going to be interesting because Clem now Clem goes Starforge. Okay, so Clem's going to go Starforge reactively, and I think he kind of has to use the butterflies here because over time, mortars are just going to be a massive problem for him. Like Mortar, Destroyers wreck mammoths. So you can't really go mammoths against the mortars. It's going to be a very slow army for Trigger that will over time wreck you. Goes in, but he knows he's going to get blinked on, so he does try to recall out. I think Trigger, you know, when you catch him mid-recall, sometimes you can blink on top and kind of Shrek him. But head-to-head, if it's just blinks against recalls like we said, and it's equal number fight, that's usually going to favor the recalls. And you can see he's trying to pick the engagement when Clem's just on move command. Clem, though, does turn to fight. He's going to try and get damage on that base. And Mortars come forward now, and as we said, Mortars wreck recalls because they're slow movement speed. Recalls really struggle against the Mortars. Good blink back micro, has to recall out of that. Lovely, lovely play from Trigger. He's making things very hard for Clem. Clem's trying to go Cat Bus again, guys. Once again, a lack of anti-air other than tier 1 anti-air. Clem says, it's fine. You're beating me, but how quickly can you beat me? And the Destroyers say, pretty darn quickly, bro, because they shove forward. He guns forward to try and snipe the Destroyers. He gets rid of the Destroyers, which means the Mammoths can clear the Mortars. Oh, good break for Clem. Yes, Clem loses his 3rd, but he kills a lot of valuable units. The Blink guy's trying to escape is very smart. Just run away. As Trigger, he's got a lot of Blink Hunters in the mix as well, because he was expecting the Butterflies, but it's not the Butterflies, is it? So now as his 2 Destroyers come forward, the Mammoths have to back away, but Cat Bus is on the way. Remember, Trigger is on a timer. Trigger's on a timer. So the fact that you've even bought this much room for yourself is huge. The Mammoths take a few Destroyer hits, but they kill one of the Destroyers. He's got to get out of here, though. The recall's getting jumped on. This is really good for Trigger. A lot of these recalls will go down. Look, they try to recall, but a lot of them fall, and the Cat Bus is still about 8 seconds away from being warped in. It's all about the Cat Bus right now, guys. It's all about the Cat Bus. No Valkyries in the loadout. Nothing to fight this other than Blink Hunters. Trigger is 3 base against 2. But Cat Bus wreck Blink Hunters. So the question is, can he get enough Blink Hunters to overwhelm a unit that they don't really counter? Like I would say the Cat Bus trades positively against Blink Hunters. I don't know how positively, right? So we're going to see how that trade goes. And right now he's saying, well, I'm just going to fight away from the Cat Bus, buy time, let that extra 1 base of the economy advantage work, use my Blinks to fight against your ground army. You can see when the Cat Bus gets on top, it sprays, it hoses them down, man. If you guys ever wanted a tier 3 flying unit that just uses a fire hose of death, that's essentially what the Cat Bus is, guys. What they did is they took the Cat Bus out of My Neighbor Totoro, and they basically, they gave it a whole bunch of drugs, and then they used some evil magic to turn it into a mech that just sprays that hose of death on the enemy. But Always interesting. How do you fight it? He's trying to kite because he doesn't want to just fly over the top. But, air units, you can notice, don't stack. Like in StarCraft 2, air units stack. In this game, they do actually collide with each other. So you can't just stack them all on top, which is a very different thing. And it seems like there's just enough Blink Hunters. Trigger, with the extra base advantage for so long, just has enough Blink Hunters to go in here. And with no splash damage on the ground to punish this, like this ground army is so weak to splash damage. But Clem doesn't have any splash damage available, right? Unless he goes Foundry and gets the recall shockers in here. But being down a base, he couldn't take the time to tech into a different path. And Trigger actually says, you know what? Cat Bus is meant to beat Blink Hunter, but not in these numbers. It doesn't, you know. At the end of the day, the macro does matter. Trigger sniping that third base was really huge, even though Clem got some good fights. And going for the Cat Bus was very smart. Trigger realized he had to get damage done before that tier 3 air came on. He got enough damage and then was able to fall back on the Blink Hunters as a tier 1 anti-air unit. All right, guys. Going into the next one, it's 2-2. Clem is going to go back to Blink now. Trigger back to Blink as well. So we've got Blink against Blink. Clem in the bottom left, Trigger in the top right. Both have Cat Bus on tier 3. Both have no other anti-air units, guys. Is this the no anti-air meta? Just Blink Hunters and nothing else? High speed, low drag. I love that they're spamming emotes at each other, guys. The new emotes and spray tags are quite fun. I just heard a spray tag. I didn't see it, which means it was probably Trigger sprayed tag somewhere. And since we've got that viewing bug, we can only really see things where Clem's units are right now. Tier 1 anti-airs is kind of nuts now, guys. The fact that they only cost 50 red, 50 blue, 50 matter, and 50 energy, where they used to be 75-25 is huge. Really allows you to just make them reactively a lot better, even when your red is out. And yeah, their stats seem quite good as well, right? We saw them do okay against the Cat Bus previously. Now, it is 2-2 between these guys. It's a best of 9, remember, guys. And I can't wait to see where these games go. Clem techs first. Okay, so it's 3 base, 3 base. Clem goes Starforge. Trigger maybe just didn't quite save his money as much. He goes Starforge about 10 seconds later. And they have the identical lineups. This is a proper mirror matchup. I don't think this is the best way to play, guys. I think definitely sometimes you will get metas where players just start doing the same thing as each other, where their creativity runs out or they're at their wit's end of how to, like, you know, get an advantage. So they just end up trying to do what the other guy does, but do it better. Personally, I would never want to play against either of these guys with this sort of style, because whenever you're doing the exact same thing, you better either be way smarter or way better than your opponent, and usually it's way better at, like, micro and setting up fights. And so far, I think Clem's had slightly better engagements than Trigger. Trigger's got to be really careful with these fights. Oh, yeah, this is snowballing. Oh my god, did Clem just kill him with Blink Micro and better fight engagement setup? I think he might have. Then again, he might be overcommitting. Trigger's played a lot of Protoss versus Protoss, which is all about Blink Stalker versus Blink Stalker. So he should have more experience with this style of combat, and maybe his experience pays off, but he may chase a little bit too far there. And looks like that ties up. Now, Mammoth's coming. Big Mammoth wave coming here for Clem. No doubt Trigger has the same thing. Butterflies could be nice mixed in. Just a single butterfly. I like the single butterfly. The single butterfly is like, yeah, you better run, boy. You better make some Blink Hunters, and he makes 6 Blink Hunters to deal with it. Good idea to mix that in. They should easily get rid of 1 butterfly. There is a second one. Maybe a few more Blink Hunters would be a good idea, but he's decided to just stay on 6 and keep rallying Mammoths for now, has Clem. So both sides jockeying for position. 3 butterflies. Oh, 1 butterfly goes down, but they already took out a Mammoth, and I think that's actually really good, because whenever you blink your Blink Hunters forward like that, they get gunned down by everything else. And that is actually a really big problem. Dude, good butterfly micro. Trigger's butterfly control here is so good, and even as more Blink Hunters come in, they come from the bottom, and they're getting destroyed. The butterflies! Oh, man! And that's Clem just getting trounced by butterflies. You've got to respect the butterflies, guys. And I think Clem should have got a few butterflies of his own, and you basically make it awkward for your opponent to get forward. Mammoths normally sit a bit further back. They don't charge in the front like king crabs, so it should be hard for butterflies to get at them. But in this case, we saw that if you try to blink your Blink Hunters forward, they get wrecked. All right, guys, next game, Clem says, screw that, man. He's actually the one who backs out of the mirror matchup first. That's kind of cool, guys. You'd think Clem, you know, Mr. Mechanics Master would just try to fight Blink versus Blink. And it did start well. He just chased too far when he was winning those Blink skirmishes, and then he just didn't have an answer for the butterflies, right? The butterflies dancing in and out. and his blink hunters kind of running in and getting themselves killed was a problem. Now, this is actually a reason why I've historically not liked blink hunters as much as missile bots, guys, for anti-air. And the reason is, if your opponent's really good at syncing up their ground and air armies, I feel like blinking in with your blink hunters gets them wrecked. Whereas missile bots, I just overclock and I just kind of A-move and they have a bit more, I think they might have more anti-air range, but they naturally aren't going to run to the front and get themselves killed as much. I mean, obviously it's easier in general if you have melee units. The problem is if you're using ranged units for tier 1, you don't have something to tank for those anti-air units, and that can be a big issue. Gonna go for a giant attack as Clem with the wasps. Great surface area on the workers. Yeah, I think Trigger screwed up by not having hold position blinks in the mineral lines, guys. From the moment the worker line starts getting close to warping in, I think you want to, even before it warps in, have individual blinks guarding these choke points, because that's an entire worker line and a fair bit of damage on the blinks themselves. I think that's super worth it for Clem. Because remember, with melee units, you want to keep the numbers low. Trigger admitting, he's like, that really hurt, dude, because he realizes he's probably screwed already. Now, he did go Starforge first. His Starforge will be kicking in a little bit earlier, but he is so poor now, and the wasps are going to go into the main as well, or at least they think about it. They end up going down here and trying to land on the blinks and just take an engage. Of course, they can just blink away from there. Trigger kind of waiting on the blink. Just stands his ground. He's like, no, no, no. Come on, mate. I could take you down. He has a single butterfly in the mix. What are we going to do, guys? Blink Hunter's coming in now for Clem. So it's Wasp, Blink Hunter. Ooh. Okay, guys. Cat buses are available. Both sides, either one could tech the cat bus. I do think cat bus is still really good. Remember, we saw cat bus get overwhelmed when the other player had an extra base and had really got a big advantage for themselves. But I don't think I think in this scenario, either player going cat bus could be perfectly valid here. Link's coming in, trying to chase away the wasps. Good reactions by Clem. Is Trigger building a single butterfly to bait an over response? Yeah. Yeah, basically, I mean, it can kill mammoths. It can run by worker lines. And it can force over responses, but that butterfly gets jumped on. Clem catches it. Yeah, you don't want to overcommit, because if it push comes to shove, those blink hunters will obliterate the butterflies, right? He's got just one there. Now, I think if you sync up the butterflies and keep them behind your army, they're still useful. He's still got 2 of them in there. They're very good anti-big units. Remember, butterflies these days aren't just a generic attacking unit. They are there to target things like these mammoths and try to take them down. Wasp counterattack on the right side. A couple butterflies over there, which I wasn't expecting. I thought all the butterflies would be in the middle. Not having them in the middle is kind of a bummer for Trigger. He pulled them back a little bit too far. He's going to go back to that right side. He looks like he F2'd to the right. This is a big problem. Even the top pros have in this game is a bit too much F2 sometimes. Oh, Blink's trying to pull back. Clem seems to be winning this middle fight pretty hard. He's just got the mammoth count. Remember, a lot of butterflies got built, and look at that. It jumps forward, takes it down. Each butterfly costs as much as a mammoth. The mammoth looks more expensive because it's big and chunky. The butterflies come in and take out 2 mammoths, but they do get blinked on, and they all get taken down. Beautiful blink forward for Clem. And Clem says, taste my blink hunter, Mr. Silly Butterfly, snaps the butterfly's wings off and takes it down. Clem tying the series back up at 3-3. All right, this banger series continues. Clem's going to stick with the wasps here. And Trigger on the blink. Trigger's sticking with this deck. He said, this is my deck. I know how to win with this deck. It's all I need. Clem, his deck looks, I think, identical to the last game. Yeah. He's got Shocker Destroyer. I quite like Shockers, guys. Shockers are pretty good. I need to use them more so I get a lot of experience with them. We saw Trigger did pretty well in that first game, but the turrets actually is what stopped him in his tracks. These guys are 2 of the sweatier players out there as well. So I would say if you guys prefer slower strategy games, this game actually doesn't have to be this sweaty. If you watch Bo and Nan play, there's a lot of players in the top 100 who aren't as sweaty, but when you watch the StarCraft 2 pros, it feels like the sweatiness intensifies very, very hard. Like, these guys click really fast and multitask a lot, and there's a lot of, I would say, this early stage, especially with the balance changing, of just feeling their way through the game. And there's like a bit of understanding, but like definitely everyone still is figuring out how the units work. And there's a lot of things where not only will our perceptions change as he's pre-surrounding the expansion, you can't see that he's pre-surrounding it until you drop the expansion in. Bit of free damage. But yeah, the unit stats will change as well. So obviously, I think this is a sort of game where some people have said, hey, this game's not going to be that deep. Like long term, this game's going to get really boring when you play it for a few months. I honestly agree that if we never get new maps and we never get new units and balance changes, this is a sort of game you play a ton for a few months and then get bored of. But I don't think that's going to be the case, because I think they're going to balance it very frequently and release new units very frequently, which is what's going to make the game fun. And man, I can't wait till there's extra game modes or maps, like fun, different maps and different objectives with the same tool set. I think would be just so awesome. And I think that'll come out probably with full release of the game, but we'll see how we go. For now, it feels like Trigger's defending very well, but he's got to be careful. The surround attempt on the front. Blink Hunter's in the mix as well right now, just as a way of having more damage, more firepower here, spending that energy as well, not just your matter, which is why both sides are mixing those in. But I gotta say, guys, it does feel kind of like Clem's micro is just a bit too good. If he can defend this base, Trigger's committing crazy hard right now. I think he should run. You get 7 workers. That's a good fight, you know. But you got to now split up and attack that natural base again. Getting blinked on. Blink Hunter's trying to fight here. Wasp's trying to get on top. He's done so much damage to the base, and that's a problem, because that base, all that damage it tanked was damage not going on his units, and that's where these fights, overcommitting offensively, can get really bad, and the Blink Hunters will get wrecked by the regular blinks. Clem holds on. Oh, sorry, Trigger holds on, I should say. Sorry, I'm getting my names confused. Clem actually overcommits. Trigger defends with Blink, and this was just a bit too desperate of a Wasp Blink Hunter all-in for Clem. 3 base, mass tier 1. And Trigger holds on so well. Yeah, Trigger actually traded so... Because the longer that fight went, he's just blinking back his weak units, keeping them alive, preserving his damage output, while Clem's damage output was falling so drastically. This is awesome. How does this game work? This is the first time seeing it. I can talk about that at the start of the next game quickly. We'll talk about the basics again. I guess for those who haven't seen it before, we should try to introduce the basics every now and then, but... Dude, Trigger taking another map. 1 game away from sealing the deal. Just defending the desperate Wasp Blink Hunter all in from Clem. All right, guys. Both players realizing this is potentially the last game, and they both had a bit of banter there about how they were going to make big changes to their deck. Or are we just trolling each other, they both said. But there is big changes. Clem's going GunBot, Trigger's going Crab. You have to play defensive with Gunbots early against Crabs. Gunbot's the best raw DPS unit in the game, as Clem here spams clicking back and forth and overclocking these Gunbots because the boy likes to click. Crabs scale really well, though, because they're not weak to splash damage. So even things like Shockers aren't that great against Crabs. Crabs are just an amazing frontline later on, especially with things like Butterflies behind them, because you try to blink your Blink Hunters and you're blinking into Crabs. You're blinking into melee units. And we know that best-of-9 is the only player who's really been using Crabs a lot, but he's been using them exceptionally well. Now, we also have advanced recalls for Trigger, which is an incredibly slow but high DPS fragile unit. They have insane damage. If they're allowed to just stand and shoot, advanced recalls beat just about everything in the game. Well, everything that's not able to splash damage them. They just do crazy damage. All right, Crab's trying to fight the Gunbots. Good micro here. Clem with a very good starter step, but you got to be careful here. He's getting overrun on the left side. Remember, Crabs cost twice as much as a Gunbot. Gunbots are a small unit, 50 matter each. Crabs are 100. Crabs are going to get themselves 1 worker, 2 workers there. They don't quite get the 3rd one. So a couple workers go down, but for a couple Crabs, that's perfectly fine for Clem, who does, one would argue, have the better scaling unit because those Gunbots just add so much raw damage. Problem for the Gunbots as the Crabs try to come in with a flank. It's hard to full surround in this game, though, especially against Clem's very smooth starter step and the Gunbots being quite a small unit with very small collision size. You can see he's just going to starter step away, escape it. I don't think Trigger's as used to the Crabs as he should be. He should have been counterattacking the natural there. Rather than going for the surround, guys, you want to hit their worker lines as much as possible. What about Crab? Let's start the hunt. Clem answers, of course, and he says, dude, I think I'm going to win this. NP plus. Ooh, I don't know what NP plus. Is that like a corporation that makes the bots or something, guys? I think that might be part of the lore. The Wasps coming in. They're going to take through these Crabs. These Crabs will kill a few workers, but there's just nothing to deal with the Wasps on the front line. Crabs are going to try to jump on top, but Clem is the master of stutter stepping 2 or 3, 2 things, 3 things at once in different areas of the map. Yes, he loses some more workers at home, but if you never answer the big mass of Gunbots in the middle, then those Gunbots are going to cause you problems. And it feels like Trigger here could have tacked up to Shockers. Shockers would have destroyed in this game against these Gunbots. But staying on the mass tier 1 with the Crabs is probably not the play. I think best-of-9 showed us you want to go fast 2 base tech and then think about potentially expanding only after that. with the crabs because the crabs scale really well, but they are a little bit weak on their own. Trying to use Blink Hunters for a bit of range damage, but as we know, Blink Hunters are an anti-air unit. They're not that amazing here. And the GunBot Micro, the starter set, I mean, this is Clem's unit. The man's a Terran World Champion. And it's hard to take down Clem there. Clem is going to force that 9th and final game. All right, guys, this is the moment. It's now or never. Clem in the left, Trigger in the right, and Clem is going for crabs. Oh, Clem's going to go crabs as well. Trigger was memeing, saying, oh, those crabs look like they had some potential. I'm going to stick with the crabs. I'm not changing my deck. And Clem's like, yeah, sure, buddy. And he's actually going crabs this time. Trigger's going blink. Now, blink is best against crabs, according to Bowen. This is one of the harder ones to deal with. Clem also went crossbow? Crab crossbow. Wow. Now, crossbows get wrecked by butterflies, guys. I mean, maybe not wrecked by them, but they definitely don't trade great against them. Like, butterflies actually do very, really, really good against crossbows because of their bonus to big, so... Crabs are going to come out. You want to keep that blink number low, or at least keep them on the back foot. You don't want to just chase them usually like this, but it's hard to micro 2 places at once. So Clem says, I'm just going to put pressure on you and make you make mistakes. He's going to take a third base. They're both going to rush third base. These guys love to mass expand. This is my instinct as a StarCraft player as well. Get more expansion, see what you can get away with. But I really think when you're playing crabs, teching on 2 base is more important. So I think this favors Trigger the longer you stay on just blink first crabs personally. Crabs are going to go in on that base as well. He's going to get a few workers here. You can see those low hit point blinks coming back, but look at that. He targets them down. Good micro here for Clem. He finishes off the 2 weak ones. That hero crab goes for it. These 2 crabs over here, by the way, taking out 6 workers. They're going to get even more there, or they're going to try and run away, both of which are very effective. Getting himself another blink as well. Trigger struggling to hang on with blinks against crabs. And, I mean, we had Bo and Arn say, dude, blinks wreck me. I really feel like blinks are so good against this. And then Percival was at a loss after their show match, right? He was at a loss for it, right? We put that one up, yesterday. And he basically said, this is if you're watching on YouTube, earlier today if you're watching on Twitch, he was like talking to Chase, like, how am I meant to beat that? Should I go GunBots? I think I needed to go GunBots. And Bowen was like, no, blinks are the best against crabs. But it was kind of like this, where it felt like the crabs were just overwhelming. If you attack enough different places with the crabs, it's so hard to, like, micro. The raw hit points of those crabs, their tankiness is so good. He immediately tries to replace the base as Trigger, but he's already lost all the workers in the natural, and the third base goes down. I mean, he's just got no income now, and I feel like Clem can just rally crabs for days. Tail end of that fight did look very good for Trigger, to be fair. He's getting a critical mass. You got to be a little bit wary about just rallying army to its death, because Clem is also teching Starforge. Trigger's going Starforge as well, but it's a little bit later than him. Clem trying to go for the Mammoth/Butterfly. Crab still fighting on the front. Good micro for Trigger. Can Trigger get out of trouble with micro? He blinks after the crabs, gets 2 more. Not bad. His natural workers are starting to respawn now. His third worker's still about 20 seconds away from respawning. He's been on a massively reduced income. Whilst Clem, look at his money. 1,700 energy saved up. He can make about 50 mammoths. There's no real easy answer. I mean, you're going to have to go butterflies, but is that going to be enough? Crabs find the natural yet again. This is such a big problem, man. This is such a big problem on this base. The blinks are getting good fights on the front. I honestly think Clem shouldn't be fighting front on and should just be going around. These blinks are getting such good value. Dude, is he actually going to get enough blinks together to do this? I can't believe it. Surely not. Not with the mammoths coming out. But he is doing surprisingly well with the comeback. Once the tide turns, it gets very hard, says Bowen in the Twitch chat right now. He's there watching. He's like, yeah, dude, it always feels like the crabs are amazing. But as the fights get bigger and bigger, those melee units don't scale well against the big number of blinks, which is fascinating to hear. Butterfly is going to be a problem. Clem's got to go crossbows, dude. Going crossbows was such a big mistake, in my opinion. He does make a whole big pack of them. He's running away from the butterflies. He's just out of range. You can see when the butterflies get in range, big units say goodnight very quickly. And he's taking out a lot of these mammoths. Butterflies trying to run it away. The blinks are going to try and take out the crossbows while the butterflies take out the mammoths. And honestly, that was fantastic micro for Trigger. Crossbows as well. Look, they get obliterated by butterflies, man. Butterflies can just fight. Crossbows just aren't that good against them, and that is a huge problem. Yeah, I think if Clem went Blink Hunter, it might have been able to work, but with the crossbows, you can see they just get so destroyed by butterflies, and I think Clem was going a bit fancy, going crabs, going to this, but this is an amazing comeback for Trigger, and it really has got him back in this game. Now, to be fair, he's still down on income slightly, because he did lose so many workers on that natural. He's still trying to force it with the butterflies here. I think he's got to stop making the butterflies. And I think he's got to reset and say, hey, I don't need to be all in right now. I can rebuild my forces, because he's got to get it back to a big fight. Low number fights are going to favor the crabs, in my opinion. Now, the crossbows are getting taken down by the butterflies. Crossbows don't shoot that fast, and you can see how vulnerable they are as big units. And oh my god, the butterflies actually overwhelm. Combined with the blink guys focus firing the crossbows, Trigger's actually going to get it. Oh, the crossbow is just too vulnerable, too expensive, and not quite able to deal with those. Whereas if you have blink hunters, it's much harder to focus fire them, you know, with all of your little units and stuff like that. But having big, easy targets like the crossbows, the blinks could blink on them, target them down, and do it. What a comeback for Trigger. It felt like the crabs were swarming. They were killing his workers. They were overwhelming, but he got the critical mass, and the crabs just started to get overwhelmed. Came out with the mammoths, thought it would turn the tide, but the butterflies came out at the perfect time. That was beautifully well done, man. That was so well played by Trigger. He wins the 5-4 in a very close show match. Both players clearly experimenting a little bit with their loadouts, which I love to see, trying different things. And at the end of the day, Trigger comes out on top. GG, well played.